This week I will be discussing Lisa TerKeurst's book, Unglued. As a wife and mother, I feel at times that I've come unglued. The feelings of being out of control, guilt-ridden, and a failure are all too real. Lisa does a wonderful job being vulnerable as she writes about her struggles with these issues. She talks about how renewing our minds with new thoughts is crucial. New thoughts come from new perspectives. She goes on to say, I have a choice to have destructive thoughts or constructive thoughts right now. I can wallow in what's wrong and make things worse, or I can ask God for a better perspective to help me see good even when I don't feel good. We have a choice to face things that are out of our control, but not act out of control. If we act out of control, it only adds to our troubles. Lisa goes on to talk about settling a matter of trust in her heart. Could I trust God and believe that He's working out something good even when things seem no good? I cannot tell you how I too have had this personal matter of trust to settle in my own heart, especially for control freaks, which I would like to say I used to be. But I still struggle with control in some areas of my life, and God knows it, and constantly reminds me I'm not in control. But there are things we can control, and that is our attitudes and behaviors, which are tested daily. I grapple with labels. I think a lot of people do. Lisa points out how labels are awful. They imprison us in categories that are hard to escape. I love how she says labels will only stick if I let them. We don't have to own the labels that are thrown at us or stick with the ones that we believe that we are. I never thought about it that way. She goes on to state 4 categories of unglued reactions. 1 is the exploder who shames herself. 2, an exploder who blames others. 3, the stuffer who builds barriers. Or 4, the stuffer who collects retaliation blocks. She goes on to explain that in processing unglued reactions, soul integrity is the heart of what we are after. Soul integrity is honesty that's godly. It brings the passion of the exploder and the peacemaking of the stuffer under the authority of Jesus, where honesty and godliness embrace and balance each other. She explains that raw emotions won't sit quietly awaiting further instructions. They'll move outward if we explode and inward if we stuff. Lisa explains how she crafts her response template. 1, begin by honoring the one offended. We do this by pointing out a good quality about that person. 2, keep your response short and full of grace. And lastly, we end by extending compassion. What I like to do with my children when I feel my buttons are getting pushed is send them somewhere until I can calm down enough to discuss the situation. Lisa talks about finding the quiet. She explains that in the quiet, we feel safe enough to humble ourselves. In the quiet, God lifts us up to a more rational place. In the quiet, anxiety gives way to progress. In the quiet, we acknowledge that our real enemy isn't the other person. And in the quiet, I can rest assured that God will use this conflict for good, no matter how it turns out. I am a stuffer until I cannot not stuff anymore, and then I explode. The reasons that we stuff, according to Lisa, are we don't feel safe enough to confront that person. We don't have the energy or the time to get into a conflict right now. We don't know how to address the issue. We don't want to seem hypersensitive. We don't want to get rejected. We don't want to lose control. And we don't want to make things worse. So we convince ourselves to just let it go. At the end of the book, Lisa reiterates how we all need to accept the invitation of imperfect progress. As we begin, we need to sow righteousness for ourselves, reap the fruit of unfailing love, break up the unplowed ground of our hearts, and seek the Lord until He comes and showers His righteousness on us. My hope is that you'll look inward today and determine if you're coming unglued and what type of person that you are, whether you're an exploder or a stuffer or both. May this book become an added resource to your library today.